Sting, born Gordon Matthew Thomas Sumner on October 2, 1951, in Wallsend, England, is one of the most iconic and successful musicians of his generation. Known for his distinctive voice and genre-defying sound, he gained fame as the frontman of The Police before embarking on an equally successful solo career. Let's take a detailed look at his life, music, fame, fortune, and romantic relationships. Early life and musical beginnings. Sting was raised in a working-class family in the industrial town of Wallsend, near Newcastle upon Tyne. His father was a milkman, and his mother a hairdresser. Sting often reflects on his childhood as being marked by the stark contrast between his love for music and the grittiness of his surroundings. From an early age, Sting showed a deep interest in music. He taught himself guitar and was inspired by the jazz musicians and rock bands he heard. After attending a teacher training college, Sting briefly worked as a schoolteacher, but his passion for music never waned. In the early 1970s, he played bass guitar for several local jazz and rock bands, including Last Exit, a jazz fusion band. However, his big break came when he moved to London in 1977 and formed The Police with drummer Stuart Copeland and guitarist Andy Summers. The Police rise to fame. The Police quickly rose to prominence in the late 1970s and early 1980s, blending punk rock, reggae, and jazz influences to create a unique sound. Key albums and hits with The Police: Roxanne, 1978, one of the band's first major hits. Roxanne was a reggae-infused track that became a global sensation. The song was included on their debut album, Outlandos de Mort, 1978. Message in a Bottle, 1979, from their second album, Regatta de Blanc, 1979, this track became one of the band's signature songs and showcased Sting's ability to blend catchy melodies with introspective lyrics. Every Little Thing She Does Is Magic, 1981, and Every Breath You Take, 1983, these hits, from the albums Ghost in the Machine, 1981, and Synchronicity, 1983, solidified The Police's status as one of the biggest bands in the world. Every Breath You Take, in particular, became their most successful song, topping charts around the world and winning multiple Grammy Awards. By 1983, The Police were at the height of their fame. However, tensions within the band, largely due to creative differences between Sting and Stuart Copeland, led to their split in 1986. Despite their relatively short time together, The Police sold over 75 million records worldwide and left a lasting impact on rock and pop music. Solo career and musical evolution. Sting's solo career, which began in 1985 with the release of The Dream of the Blue Turtles, allowed him to explore a wider range of musical styles, incorporating jazz, classical, world music, and pop. Key solo albums and hits: The Dream of the Blue Turtles, 1985, Sting's debut solo album, was a critical and commercial success. It featured hits like If You Love Somebody, Set Them Free, and Russians, and showcased Sting's ability to incorporate jazz elements into his pop songwriting. The album was nominated for multiple Grammy Awards. Fields of Gold and Englishman in New York, 1993, Sting's 1993 album Ten Summoners Tales featured these two classic tracks. Fields of Gold became one of his most beloved songs, while Englishman in New York became an anthem for outsiders and expatriates. Desert Rose, 1999, from his album Brand New Day, this track, featuring Algerian singer Kep Mami, was a fusion of Western pop and Middle Eastern music. The song became a global hit and introduced Sting to a new generation of fans. Soundtrack work and Broadway. Sting has also composed for film soundtracks, including songs for The Three Musketeers, 1993, and The Emperor's New Groove, 2000. In 2014, he wrote the score for The Last Ship, a Broadway musical inspired by his childhood in a shipbuilding town. Sting has received 17 Grammy Awards, an induction into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, as a member of The Police, and numerous other accolades throughout his solo career. He's known for experimenting with a variety of genres, making his sound continually fresh and innovative. fame and fortune. Sting's fame is not limited to his music, he is also widely recognized as a cultural and political figure. His music often incorporates themes of human rights, social justice, and environmentalism, making him one of the most thoughtful and socially conscious artists of his era. Wealth. Sting is one of the wealthiest musicians in the world. As of 2023, his net worth is estimated to be around $550 million. His fortune comes from several sources: album sales and touring. Both his work with the Police and his solo career have generated massive revenues through record sales and extensive tours. Songwriting royalties. Sting is one of the most successful songwriters of all time, with many of his songs covered or sampled by other artists. Real estate. Sting and his wife, Trudy Styler, have a vast property portfolio, including homes in England, Italy, and the US. Despite his immense wealth, Sting has publicly stated that he won't be leaving a large inheritance to his 6 children, encouraging them to work hard and find their own paths. Romantic relationships and family. Sting's personal life has been the subject of much public attention, especially his relationships and family. First marriage. Sting married actress Frances Tomalty in 1976. They had 2 children together, Joseph and Fuchsia. However, their marriage ended in 1984, partly due to Sting's burgeoning relationship with Trudy Styler, a close friend of Tomalty at the time. Second marriage. Sting began a relationship with Trudy Styler, an actress and film producer, in the early 1980s. They married in 1992 and have 4 children together: Brigitte, Jake, Elliot, known as Coco, who is also a musician, and Giacomo. Sting and Trudy have been together for over 4 decades, and their relationship is often cited as one of the most enduring and stable in the entertainment industry. Sting and Styler are known for their philanthropic efforts, particularly in the areas of environmental conservation and human rights. They co-founded the Rainforest Foundation in 1989, which works to protect the rights of indigenous peoples in the Amazon rainforest. Current work and legacy. Even after decades in the music industry, Sting remains active, recording new music and performing around the world. In 2021, he released The Bridge, an album reflecting on themes of loss, isolation, and connection during the COVID-19 pandemic. It was well received by both fans and critics. Touring. Sting continues to tour globally, performing both solo and with various collaborators. He has also reunited with the Police for select performances, including a major reunion tour in 2007 to 2008. Social and environmental advocacy. In addition to his music, Sting remains heavily involved in environmental activism, continuing to support causes related to the environment, indigenous peoples, and global justice. Other things we don't know about Sting. Sting has led a fascinating life, balancing immense fame with a commitment to privacy, philanthropy, and personal growth. While much of his career and personal life is well known, there are several lesser-known facts that offer deeper insight into who he is. 1. His nickname Sting came from a striped sweater. Sting's famous nickname has an amusing origin. While playing with a jazz band in the early 1970s, he often wore a black and yellow striped sweater that made him resemble a bee. The band's leader started calling him Sting, and the name stuck. Even today, most people don't call him by his real name, Gordon Sumner. 2. Sting wanted to be a soccer player. Growing up in Newcastle, Sting was a big fan of soccer, football, and like many boys in the UK, he dreamt of becoming a professional player. He played passionately as a youth but ultimately pursued music when he realized he wasn't quite good enough to make a career in sports. 3. He was a school teacher before fame. Before finding fame with the Police, Sting worked as an English teacher at St. Paul's First School in Cramlington, England. His teaching background, especially in literature, has influenced his songwriting. Many of his lyrics are poetic and deeply thoughtful, reflecting his love of literature. 4. He's passionate about yoga. Sting has been a dedicated practitioner of yoga for decades. He practices Ashtanga Yoga, a physically demanding style that involves synchronized breathing and flowing movements. Yoga has been a major part of his health and fitness routine, contributing to his youthful appearance and energetic stage performances, even well into his 70s. 5. He claims to have practiced tantric sex. One of the most infamous rumors about Sting is his claim of practicing tantric sex. In a 1990s interview, Sting mentioned that he and his wife, Trudy Styler, practiced tantric sex, suggesting they could sustain intimacy for hours. Though often exaggerated and joked about in the media, Sting has later clarified that this was more about emotional connection and spiritual intimacy rather than purely physical. 6. He has a strong environmental activism streak. While Sting is widely known for his environmental activism, particularly through the Rainforest Foundation, which he co-founded with his wife, what is lesser known is just how hands-on he has been with these causes. He's visited indigenous tribes in the Amazon, campaigned for their rights, and continues to use his platform to push for action on climate change and deforestation. 7. Sting owns an organic winery. Sting and Trudy Styler own the 900-acre Il Pelagio estate in Tuscany, Italy. The estate is not just a retreat for the couple but also a fully functioning organic farm and vineyard. They produce award-winning wines, olive oil, and honey, which are sold globally. Sting is passionate about sustainability and organic farming, which is reflected in the way the estate is run. 8. He had a troubled relationship with his father. Sting has often spoken about his complicated relationship with his father, Ernest Sumner, who was a milkman. Sting's father was proud but distant and struggled with his son's success. Much of Sting's music, particularly songs like The Soul Cages, 1991, is infused with themes of loss, reconciliation, and a search for identity, influenced by the death of his parents and his unresolved issues with his father. 9. He was in a punk band before The Police. Before forming The Police, Sting was part of several bands, including a jazz fusion group called Last Exit, but few know that he also briefly flirted with punk rock. In the early days of the punk movement, he played gigs in small London venues, where he encountered members of The Clash and the Sex Pistols. 10. He has a strong interest in classical music. While Sting is best known for his rock and pop music, he has a deep love for classical music. In 2006, he released an album titled Songs from the Labyrinth, a collection of 16th-century lute songs by English composer John Dowland. Sting taught himself how to play the lute for the project, which was a radical departure from his usual sound and demonstrated his love for classical music. 11. He is a vegetarian. Sting has been a vegetarian for many years. He made the decision in the early 1990s, partly for ethical reasons and partly for health. His diet is largely plant-based, and he's a strong advocate of sustainable farming and animal welfare. 12. He's a philanthropist but keeps some efforts private. While Sting is vocal about some of his philanthropic efforts, particularly environmental causes, he also donates generously to many charities under the radar. He is involved in numerous humanitarian efforts related to health, education, and poverty but prefers to keep much of his charitable work out of the spotlight. 13. He writes music for other famous artists. In addition to his own extensive catalogue, Sting has written songs for several other artists over the years. Some of his contributions have been more behind the scenes, showing that his creativity extends far beyond his own albums. For example, he co-wrote the hit All for Love for Bryan Adams, Rod Stewart, and himself for the movie The Three Musketeers. 14. Sting's music has inspired a generation of EDM artists. Though primarily associated with rock, pop, and jazz, Sting's pioneering use of reggae rhythms and electronic sounds with The Police, as well as his solo experiments with synthesizers and world music, has made him an inspiration for a number of EDM, electronic dance music, artists. His 1977 song I Feel Love, in particular, helped shape the evolution of dance music. 15. He has performed for the royal family on numerous occasions. Sting's international appeal has led to invitations to perform for royalty on several occasions. He has performed for Queen Elizabeth II multiple times, including at her Golden Jubilee in 2002. His performances at these events have made him a cultural ambassador for British music on the global stage. These lesser-known aspects of Sting's life reveal a multidimensional artist and human being. He is not only a rock star but also a teacher, environmentalist, philanthropist, and cultural icon whose curiosity and passions continue to shape his life and career. Sting's career has been defined by versatility, innovation, and a deep commitment to artistry. From his early days with the Police to his experimental solo career, he has remained at the forefront of music for more than 4 decades. His fame, fortune, and lasting impact on popular music are matched by his thoughtful activism and dedication to family. Through his music and philanthropic efforts, Sting has cemented himself as one of the most influential figures in modern music.